Week 3 in the CFL. Couple of teams look really good. The Ottawa Red Blacks get a quote unquote upset win. And yeah, the Riders won too. Coming up next. Hello and welcome to the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. My name's Oz Davis. I'm the co-host of the show. And joining me, as ever, is my co-host, Joe Pritchard. Joe, how are you doing this week?
We're closing in on 300 of these, aren't we?
Yeah. It's been so long that when we started this podcast, Edmonton was selling out stadiums, and they were pretty good.
Yeah, because I want to say it was like a couple weeks into it that we were covering their Grey Cup victory.
Mm-hmm.
Little did we know, 10 years later, we would not have done another one.
Yeah, and you would have reproduced, et cetera, et cetera. I would have bounced back and forth between two nations a couple of times. Yeah. I was just thinking about this. We have seen every team win a Grey Cup except for the Riders and the Ticats. Am I correct?
And BC, too, I think.
Oh, yeah, BC.
Right.
BC has not yet won one. Okay.
They only tend to win at home, and they blew their chance last year.
So despite the COVID non-season and despite this run by Winnipeg, we've actually seen in 10 years, we've actually seen 6 different champions. So not bad. Not
Not bad at all.
Some good parity in the CFL, despite the continuity by a couple of teams who we'll be talking about this week. Let's do it. Let's do the rundown of last week's games. Had some barn burners this week, or at least so it appeared on the final scoreboard. If you like scoring, this was your week, as opposed to last week. Not too much. We start off with high score of the week, Montreal Alouettes 38. Edmonton Oaks 28. I think the pattern for these Owls is to give up a field goal on the first drive and then shut you down for 2.5 quarters after that. This is what happened in this game. It was pretty wild because Edmonton looked really nice on that first drive, started with 2 play actions, and then went to the running game, which was one of the few highlights of their season last year. When it was all said and done, Justin Rankin and Javon Leake combined 18 carries? Yeah, 18 carries for 117 yards and a touchdown. So, oh no, not a touchdown. 117 yards. So pretty nice there, but unfortunately the Elks dug themselves into a hole really early, and they had to go to the passing game, which hasn't really worked for them this year. I could do the victory lap, Joe, because my Alouettes are looking really awesome again, I must say. On the other hand, you could tell me, how concerned are we about Trey Ford?
As CFL fans, I don't think we're terribly concerned.
Okay.
Because it's clear that they're not going to put him in a situation to succeed at this point.
Okay.
I mean, we know what his talents are. We know what his game is. We know what it looks like when they put him in a position to succeed. Remember last year in Regina? Remember the read option with Javon Leake the whole game, and then just go whichever one the Riders picked, the other one would kill him. Like you have a backup in Cody Fajardo that can run a typical, normal, everyday offense if something were to happen to Trey Ford, but like open it up.
Mm.
What are you going to lose at this point?
Yeah,
Use his talents. Use what he has to help you instead of trying to make him a typical everyday drop back quarterback.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And if
yeah.
and you know what? If it doesn't succeed and he ends up having to go somewhere else to resurrect his career, that's just what's going to happen at this point, I think. He may do the trek to two or three different teams to try to find a good fit over the course of the next 5 years if this doesn't work out. But somebody somewhere will go, I can use those talents and I know how to use them. And we'll be going like, why hasn't he done this all of his career? And we'll be like, you find somebody finally put him in a position to succeed. That's why.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing that strikes me is that last year when they were winning towards the end of that season, I mean, they were doing some really innovative stuff with well, I shouldn't even say innovative. They were doing some real retro stuff with their game. I mean, they were running full house backfields out there and being successful. There's a lot of speed in this team's running game. I'm just trying to look up Trey Ford's numbers here on the ground because it seems to me he had some nice runs. Yeah, just 3 runs for 31 yards, but he was able to break away a few times. And like I say, Rankin and Leak both had tremendous games against a pretty decent run defense uh, in Montreal. So I'm just wondering what happened to this. I mean, maybe they don't feel desperate enough to do that kind of thing, but geez, you got to go back to your strengths. You should be running this ball more um, in Edmonton. The other distressing thing, of course, was the lack of attendance in Edmonton. I think already some fans are a little bit miffed at this performance early this year. Um, for the Owls, wow. Still looking pretty good. Davis Alexander, 210 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half. Unfortunately, injured with about 6 minutes left in the third quarter. This is what McLeod Bethel Thompson is aboard for. Of course, I was a skeptic on Bethel Thompson going into the season, but as a backup, can't complain. Went 6 for 8, completed his first 6 passes, 77 yards. Yes, the Elks outscored Montreal in the second half, but you know, foot off the pedal kind of situation after building up a nice halftime lead. Um, Montreal did enough to maintain that 10 point. So, but I mean, I'm just looking at this game and the TSN crew were talking about this at half. There is a nice continuity on this team. And I mean, just look at our receiving core. Tyson Philpott led the way with 8 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. But I mean, we've got Charleston Rambo, we've got Tyler Sneed, we've got Cole Speaker, we've got Austin Mack. I mean, just I don't know if this is an all-star receiving core, but let me say this: the Stamps wish they had this crew right
Oh yeah. I I don't know if there's all that many teams in the league that would turn this core down.
now. No, no, no. I am liking this situation in the receiving core for Montreal. And once again, this team's bread and butter is really the defense. People are talking about what a great season Davis Alexander is having. But this team in its at its best is a defense first team. Again, similar situation. This time, Cavion Ento had an interception. Jeffrey Canton Arku had another great game. Sack was just generally everywhere. You've still got Tyrese Beverett. You've still got Daryl Sankey. You've still got Lorenzo Burns. I mean, wow. Joe, are you regretting your preseason Montreal prediction yet?
Give it one more week. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I got that one wrong.
Okay.
Basically because I wanted to see what Alexander could do, and I mean, I would have said give me one more week, but I mean, hasn't he proven it at this point?
Yeah. I mean, again, Davis is not, he's not your super stud. He doesn't have, he doesn't have the arm strength of, of, I don't know, Bo Levy Mitchell. He doesn't have, I'm not even sure that he has the game management yet of a Zach Caleros, and he certainly can't run like Trey Ford, but, he's a 4-star in all these categories and more. I mean, you know, not flashy, but just right on point and still undefeated as a starter. I was looking at the game lines for next week. I'm wondering if going into Hamilton at 3-0, we're just going to be sitting him. Again, I think we're going to be starting McLeod Bethel Thompson this week.
Yeah, because he did
Just
not practice today.
right. Looking at the lines, at least, seems to indicate that. But that's the safe bet, I think. Clearly, they're just going to be safe with him, as we're seeing in Ottawa with Drew Brown sitting out. I think we're just playing it safe early into the season. We've already seen a lot of these number 2 quarterbacks this year already.
That's
Previous
just the way the CFL works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, what we should do is instead of doing predictions at the beginning of the season, we should just say, okay, whoever's quarterback is still standing by week 5 is going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, maybe it should be like not picking the MOP, but rather the MO, the most outstanding backup quarterback might be a good.
How about the most upstanding quarterback?
Nice. I like it. I like it. Good preseason future for you there, CFL.ca for next year. Um, okay, game 2. Sadly, the Riders still looking really good, winning against Toronto Argonauts 39-32. Um, Similar kind of situation to what happened in Montreal, similar kind of situation to what happened in Calgary. This, of course, is one of my credos about gridiron football, is that any quarterback can put together a nice looking drive, especially on that first drive of the first quarter or the third quarter. That's exactly what happened in Toronto. Everything was clicking on that first drive. And then what? Everything falls apart until garbage time. You know, you would think that if Toronto were going to make a dent, it might be here. Saskatchewan came out here without Sean Emilus. No matter. I mean, the Riders are not going crazy on offense this year. You have Trevor Harris at quarterback, and I've been bagging on Trevor Harris for a few years as a big stat, no outcome guy. But this year he's been the opposite. This year, he's not chucking the ball all over the yard. He's not getting 3 touchdowns a game, but the Riders are winning. And they're controlling on offense. For me, aside from Mario Alford, who was just awesome. Can we still claim him in Montreal? Can we get him back?
No.
It's still, is it too late? All is forgiven, Mario. Come home. Um, so Mario is awesome, unstoppable fourth quarter kick return touchdown to seal the game essentially for the Riders. But really, again, Saskatchewan is winning in the trenches, and Toronto is getting killed with this new look defense. This was something again that the TSN halftime show is really harping on. Toronto on the offense is just getting destroyed. They're putting 6 blockers out there. The Riders are rushing 5, and they're still getting to the quarterback. Now I don't know how much of this is hanging on to the ball too long, but by Nick Arbuckle. But the Riders have looked good in this aspect, and Toronto has looked bad in this aspect all year. On the other side of the ball, okay, so the Ouellette touchdown going into the half um, was just evidence of, and Henwick Mwamba broke this down at halftime. It's just the Riders again. The offensive line is just crushing this defensive line, and then the runners are getting to the second level, and the linebackers are uncoordinated. I mean, I don't say uncoordinated physically; they're just not coordinating. They're not communicating out there, and it's just Toronto. I mean, with the lackluster play at quarterback, and I can talk about that in a moment. With the lackluster play at quarterback, they're gonna have to get this defense on the same page. I know it's only been 3 weeks, but for Toronto, these are the defending champs. This situation looks pretty desperate already. What can we do in Toronto?
Oh, wait a second. We got a flag. I mean, we did
Well
just
put.
talk about all the things that the Riders are doing well and the Argos are doing poorly, but the Argos stayed in the game because the Riders kept them in the game.
Well, yeah, yeah,
They played with their food almost too long before they
yeah,
finally decided to take that one last final bite, right? With Mario
yeah,
Alford at the end. But
yeah.
yeah, Toronto's got a lot to get together.
Mhm.
And it feels like we've seen a couple of seasons out of Toronto in the past 5 where they've had like the first month not look so good, and then as things go along, they figure it out slowly. They get hot in October and November, and then they're
Yeah.
holding the Grey Cup again. Don't
And
want to see
nine
that
and
this
nine.
I mean, my predictions be damned. I don't want to see that again this year. Probably will happen because that's the way that it works for these guys. But yeah,
Oh
right
my
now,
god.
I mean, I'll give them credit for hanging in there against a team that was better than they were, or playing better anyway. But yeah, if they were the Toronto we know from November's past, they would have just taken the Riders' mistakes and shoved them down their throat. As it was, they used them to stay afloat.
Right. But that's the thing. I mean, we've seen this from the Riders in previous years too. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
weird. It's weird, like how a franchise can turn over just about every player and every coach, and they still kind of have that same feeling to them, right?
right, right, right. There is that mental. I mean, again, like, okay, so they're killing it on the lines in Ryderville, but yeah, they're racking up the penalties. I mean, twice in the first half alone, they were offsetting misconduct penalties. Really kind of surprised no one got tossed from this game. Just a lot of penalties by the Riders, and by the end of the game, it looks like it's heart attack time once again because I mean they're overwhelming teams with the game management by Harris, the running game by Ouellette, which typically happens at the beginning of these seasons for the Riders. He always comes out super hot and ready to play at the beginning of the season. They're killing it on defense. I mean, in this game, Emelis didn't even play. Their number one receiver this past season and a half didn't even play, and yet no problem. Unlike what happened in Calgary, which I'll talk about in a minute. But and yet, they're doing enough negative stuff to keep teams in these games. I mean, like this was emblematic. Okay, there was one drive in the third quarter where you know the Argos go 96 yards. They eat up 7.5 minutes of clock. They're on the goal line. Arbuckle twice, for some reason, they're keeping Arbuckle in the game. Twice he's making these weak attempts on short yardage. I think he took a loss on the second one. And yet this game is still close. This game comes down
Yeah,
to
Toronto
a seven.
handed them points by
Right,
making mistakes too.
right.
Like the creativity on the goal line this year or in short yardage this year has just been non-existent for just about
Yep,
everybody.
yep,
Like they
yep.
know you're doing a sneak up the middle, do something with that. Like take advantage of that 2 or 3 times a year and you're going to make all of your sneaks because everybody's got to hold back just a little bit, knowing
Mhm,
that it might go the other way.
mhm, mhm.
If you
Yeah.
need examples, go back to the 2018, 2019, 2021 Bombers.
Mhm,
They did
mhm,
that all
mhm.
the time,
Yep.
enough that you had to respect it.
Yep. They really locked down inside the red zone. Those teams, the Bombers. I don't know. I was kind of hoping I could attribute this to the awesome goal line defense of, say, the Alouettes, but you may be right. This may be a league-wide trend. I
It
guess
is.
that's the importance of having the third quarterback in the CFL this season and all seasons. Just one more note. Liam Hilarahu hit a 56-yarder for the Riders in this game. In the Winnipeg game, Sergio Castillo hit a 55-yarder. So kickers are kind of redeeming themselves for last week. But if you took the yes on the preseason futures game, will somebody hit a 60-yard field goal this year? You are still waiting. Seems
It's
like it's
early.
going to come, though.
It'll
Seems like
happen.
it's going to. Yeah, yeah. It seems like it should happen this year. Okay, so next game. And right now, I hope you're taking advantage of my pick 'em picks. I think I'm 11 of 12 on the season so far, picking winners, including this game Ottawa Red Blacks 20, Calgary Stampeders 12. Not surprising, Ottawa has looked had looked decent in a couple of losses. Calgary had looked shaky in a couple of wins. So I wasn't too surprised about the outcome here. However, the weather surely helped. At kickoff, of course, it was 8 degrees Celsius outside, which is what is that about? I'm still
40
no
ish
good at this. Yeah,
Fahrenheit.
47, 48 Fahrenheit. So pretty
Because I want to
freaking
say
cold.
50 Fahrenheit is 10 Celsius. That's a good
50
measuring
is
stick for
10.
me. And 68 is 20. And then everything else
Yeah,
I
that
just
makes sense.
extrapolate off of that.
Right. Well, we know that 0 is 32 and 100 is 212, so 212. So,
Yeah. Like I have a
but
couple of markers where if you tell me something in between, I'll be, okay, it's between here and here. Okay, it's this.
right. 38 is 98.6. I know that one as well. Okay, so the point here is that this game was set up to be a slog. Getting the start for the Red Blacks was Dustin Crum. So we're going with the third different starting quarterback in 3 games. Um, wow. Okay. The Stamps are sitting at 2-1 now. But if you're a Stamps fan, you've got to be concerned. I mean, I looking at this game, and I know again it was a bit of a sloppy field, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I feel like Calgary, about the only stat that the Calgary offense is going to lead the league in is 2-and-outs. I mean, 4 2-and-outs in this game, 1-2 in interception drive. This is the second game in a row without a passing touchdown for this team. To make matters worse, once the weather did clear up in the second half, the Stamps defense just let Attaboye run all over them, just constantly handing the ball to them in the third and the fourth quarter. All you need is Vernon Adams to throw a pick at the wrong time, and game over for the Stamps. Now, I was tempted last week to put this all down to the Reggie Bagleton injury. Okay. Reggie Bagleton not playing for Calgary this week. They knew he broke his leg. Okay. So they knew he wasn't going to be playing this game. Can't use that as an excuse. And again, compare this to what Trevor Harris was doing in Saskatchewan without Emelis on the field. Trevor was 13 of 17 for 234, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Okay, respectable numbers, not throwing the ball all over the yard. In this weather in Calgary, Vernon is going 17 of 32 for 218, fewer yards than Harris had. 1 interception, no touchdowns. Calgary tried out, I think, 15 different receivers this preseason, but still can't get it together. Um, is Calgary doomed, Joe? And is Dave Dickinson doomed? Is this the end of the road?
Yes and yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to win a few more games this year
Mhm.
because VA is going to have some ridiculous days, even though he has nobody to throw to. But somebody will get open
Yeah.
just by random chance, I'm sure, and he'll have a really nice day or two.
Right.
That said, I don't know if he's going to be able to like just entirely manufacture a passing offense where there's not one to be had.
Hmm. Hmm. We're going to be, I feel like we're going to be looking back on that week 2 Calgary Toronto game and just saying, well, Toronto defense was out of sorts and the weather was nice. So that's why Adams was able to put together that W. Again, but not scoring a passing touchdown in that game against that Toronto defense. I don't know. I don't know. This after so many years of watching Bo Levy and Dickinson run a very sweet, very high scoring offense. This Calgary offense this year is just looking low watt, surprisingly low watt, disappointingly so. If you're a Calgary fan, um, what did Ottawa did well? Well, again, like that run game at the end of the game, I like Dustin Crump playing it safe, right? Playing some conservative football. Plus,
He had
this
to. He
guy,
doesn't have the skill set to do anything else.
well, I mean, what he's really good at is avoiding the rush, taking hits. You know, he's a Ben Roethlisberger type. I mean, he's one of the biggest quarterbacks in the CFL, backup or not. So he does have
He's
some.
what Chris Driveler's critics think Chris Driveler is.
Very nice. Very nicely put. Right. So I think that, they can get away with this once. Do we know when Drew Brown is coming back? Um, Trying to look at, let's see. Let's consider the lines here. I assume that they have him coming back next week.
Well, they got a long week because they're playing on
Right.
Sunday.
Right.
I don't know.
They're
Let's see.
closing out.
I don't think they have posted an injury report yet, so we'll find out in the next
No.
couple of days here because their first practice days are going to be listed as Wednesday. So yeah, in a
Mhm.
couple of days they'll
Okay.
have to list their injury their players that have participated or were eliminated in practice. They'll have to tell us what they did with Drew Brown on Wednesday.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a few days. So
Okay.
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. As always, we're recording on Monday night. And for the Sunday night game, yeah, it's too early to get those early injury reports on the game. However, I wouldn't be surprised, especially looking at this line, which we will discuss in a bit. Ottawa's hosting Toronto this coming week. Okay, finally closed out with Winnipeg 27, Winnipeg Blue Bombers 27, BC Lions 14. Well, it looked like a game for the first quarter. Very, very interesting first quarter in that we didn't even finish 2 drives.
No,
Uh,
offenses were
yeah, pretty nice.
meticulous, but also very well able to move the ball in small
Mhm,
chunks the whole time.
mhm, mhm. We opened up at about a minute into the second quarter. It was 7-3 Winnipeg, but the wheels came off pretty quickly for BC, huh? Pretty soon, Winnipeg got it up to 20-3. Last week against the Lions, they got it up to 18-3, and it was all over but the crying pretty early here. BC again is another team that looks out of sorts on the offense. Of course, this week we had Jeremiah Masoli starting, and woof, by the end of this game, he was not looking like a starter. Um, wow. I mean, what do you want to say about your Bombers, Joe? I mean,
It
awesome game.
feels like the last 2 or 3 years again.
Yep.
where besides last June, hey, look, the offense gets some points early. The offense takes a nap for 2 quarters. The
Right.
defense takes over, and in the fourth quarter, they grind them down.
Hmm.
Like, that's been the playbook for the last 2.5 years now. So, what's any different about this one? Except that they gave up a touchdown late instead of grinding it all the way out because they didn't have Brady.
Well, yeah, but they're getting it from everywhere. I mean, here was BC driving in the fourth, and Evan Holmes gets the interception in the end zone. Um, I mean that was at 20-6.
Yeah,
I mean, game over pretty much at that point. And then you even had play of the week, baby. Dewey Ely coming off of that tight end spot on the line and the big man touchdown. The offensive lineman scoring the touchdown. You gotta love it. I mean,
nice
Winnipeg's,
soft hands too.
yeah, they're just breaking out the playbook here. It's excellent. Nice catch. Yeah, really, he looked like a proper tight end on that play. It was nice. Really nice play. So, yeah, you got to be loving Winnipeg. I mean, looking at it in general, um, there are two teams that are ready to play. You might include the Riders, but there's so much variance there. If and when the Riders face either the Bombers or the Owls, they can't play dumb like they do. They can't be playing with these penalties and whatnot. But Montreal and Winnipeg, not to take a victory lap, Joe, or anything, but have far and above, and through this first 3 weeks, have been the best two teams in the CFL. These are the complete teams.
Yep. And Saskatchewan doesn't play a team that we consider complete until week 9 in
Wow.
Montreal.
We get that's when we get them.
Here's how they break down. They host BC next week,
Mhm,
bye week,
mhm.
host Calgary, at BC, host Edmonton, and then at Montreal.
Wow. This is going to be an upset.
And then bye week host Hamilton at Calgary. And then you finally get to the Labor Day time.
Right.
So like they should make some pretty good hay out of the first half of the season if they want to win the West.
Well, I refuse to believe they're going to be 7-0, but maybe this is
No, they'll blow a game just because that's what they do.
right.
But
Right. All right.
yeah,
Right.
they could get off to one of those starts again this year that everybody goes, "Ooh, look, they're off to the
Yep.
races."
Yeah.
I kind
Yeah.
of think they're a little bit more of a real deal than they were last year and the year
Yes.
before. But
Yes. Yes. Well, I
like
mean,
they have the next month plus to prove it, right?
mhm. Well, again though, again, you're expecting them to be 6-1, I think, after this run. So I'm gonna say that the Western table could look pretty bizarre. Could look pretty top heavy going into week 9. But getting ahead of ourselves. Um, Yeah, I guess the only other note here was the weird double ejection at the end of the game, towards the end of the game. Jefferson for the Bombers, Woodruff for the Lions. Woodruff got tossed for abuse of an official, which sort of, he kind of backed into the umpire who, and I got to say, the umpire, I think, had the play of the week going down like a classic South American or European soccer player uh, getting getting nothing. He stayed in the game, so it certainly wasn't that serious. And basically, Woodruff got red carded. So being in Europe, I felt a connection there. I thought it was pretty ironic though, because here we are in all these North American sports these days, encouraging referees to call flopping. And wow, this was the best flop I've seen in the CFL in years. So in any case, it's apropos of nothing, but I did want to make that snarky comment. Put that in my notes. In any case, okay, so that was the week in CFL football, but we did have some other football, Canadian football action this weekend that I want to talk about. Joe, I wanted to ask you this: where are you on the whole flag football thing?
It's
How do
a
you feel?
different if it's a different game, and I'm
Mhm.
sure if I came across it flipping through TV channels, I'd watch it for a little while. But
Okay.
I have enough football in my life that I'm not going to actively seek it out either, right?
Well, it's a different game. It's a
Yeah,
different game, right? It's a curiosity, I think, for a lot of people. Um, I don't know. I'm a little bit shaky on this myself because I'm not sure that a game which is played by everyday folks deserves to be in the Olympics, which is what this is all leading to. This past weekend, there was a big flag football invitational tournament. They played men's, they played women's, they played junior leagues. We had teams from the USA and Canada, which is why I bring this up. The Canadian team is coached by Paul LaPolice, the Canadian national team. So, pretty interesting CFL connection there. We had teams like Australia, Japan, Mexico, which apparently has quite a good women's team, and a few more. Um, I just wanted to bring this up because I noticed, unfortunately, and if somebody out there knows anything about this, please tell me where I can see the results. I can't find the results of this thing anywhere. I can find the schedule. I can find, the matchups. I could even find the rosters for this team. And this is what I found interesting because here in North America, we're wondering about the possibilities of NFL players playing in the Olympics, of college players, of CFL players in the Olympics. And I'll tell you what, you look at these rosters for like the Australia team, guess what? They've got rugby union players there. They've got rugby players on that team. So we may need to. we may need to have, the Americans and the Canadians playing in this game for their teams. So I just wanted to make a note of that. I guess good luck to Palau Police and the Canadian teams in this thing. The juggernauts on the men's side seem to be USA, no surprise, and Australia, also no surprise if you know anything about that culture. Really, perhaps the greatest sports culture on the planet is Australia. These guys can play anything well, it feels like. And on the women's side, the powerhouses seem to be the USA and Mexico, which has actually won 3 international tournaments in past years. So I don't know if anybody needs more football. There's a few more flag football events. And again, this is all in the lead up to the next Olympic Games, at which flag football will be uh, proper sport, not even a test sport, proper sport this year. So I just wanted to make a note of that in case you need more football. I mean, everything's shutting down, right, Joe? I mean, we have no more NBA now. We have no more NHL now. So I guess I'm gonna have to go to flag football for my for for my backup after CFL ball. Um, okay, so let's move on to next week. We've got some. Wow, we're starting off here with Edmonton Elks, who I don't know if they're into desperation mode yet. They've only played 2 games
yes.
at Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Um, you want to take a swing at this point spread, Joe? What do you think?
9.
9.5. Very well done. 9.5. I can't help thinking that Winnipeg is gonna put up the double-digit win here. I'm
It's a
looking
short
for an
week for them,
upset.
though.
Eh, yeah, but this is Edmonton, dude. Edmonton
So
has
you might
not
be able
looked.
to sneak in Edmonton in the points.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They might cover. They might cover. Something weird is happening because I got this line at 7.5 just yesterday. So something might be happening here that we don't know about. It's up to 9, unless the money is just coming in on Winnipeg.
Yeah, I mean,
Nine and a half.
nobody's probably looking at the short week thing, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. But again, I mean, I feel like after watching that last game, that Winnipeg has so many weapons on offense and defense that. you know, some of these guys may be able to take the game off. Plus, Zach just debuted last week, right? So
Yeah, I'm not so much worried about him as I'm worried
yeah,
about the physical defense
yeah,
and the line
yeah,
and such not being quite as sharp as they need to be.
yep, yep. Well, hey, you got Ely there at tight end, so maybe he can contribute again against the Edmonton. But hey, I'm gonna take Winnipeg for the win. Like I said, I've already got Winnipeg at 7.5. So they might just cover this 9.5 as well. But Winnipeg for the win here. Joe, I assume you're
I'm taking them, but I'm going to be slightly nervous until I see them in action.
okay. All right. Yeah, through about half a quarter and then you'll be fine.
Right.
Game
See
two.
them put up their first 14 points and then go, okay, defense has
Right.
got
Yeah.
this.
Right.
Because
14-3,
I mean,
game
that's
over.
the script they've been playing for two and a
Yeah.
half years. So why not?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's a winner. It's a winner. No, no team consistently makes the defensive adjustments at half like Winnipeg. I mean, it's they decipher your offense in that first 30 minutes, and then you know, 9 times out of 10, it's shutdown time in that second half. Really,
Yeah,
just
and what's
really nice.
crazy
Really
is it
nice.
was like we were talking about with Saskatchewan, new coordinators over the
Hmm.
past couple of years, new middle linebacker, no more Adam Big Hill, who's in Calgary now and on the practice roster. So hopefully he's got a little bit left in the tank for. Love to see him have one more run for sure. Um, but yeah, like so much change and like the basic formula of the team just continues to move along.
Hmm. Well, it's the player continuity, right? Just look at Toronto compared to Winnipeg. Winnipeg has, like, no team that we've seen since we've been doing the show has managed to keep together this core, right? Yes, Adam Bighill, for example, this year is gone. But at the heart of it, they are not getting picked apart year after year. Guys are re signing on this
Mhm.
team like
And
they
they're
don't on
proactively
other teams.
replacing the ones that go too.
Right.
Like
Right.
they
Right.
had Adam Big Hill's successor in place before they
Right.
even got to the end of last season. So
Right. Right. I mean, the organization in Winnipeg has got to be praised. You know, they got that taste of the Grey Cup victory, and they don't want to let it go. You know, so unlike other teams, really making an effort to keep together those core players. And again, just look at Toronto this year. They're having problems on defense because they got so picked apart this offseason after winning the Grey Cup. So just really nice continuity at Winnipeg. They're gonna win this week. All right. So second game, Montreal at Hamilton. Montreal a favorite by how much, Joe?
I'm gonna say with Alexander questionable, I would say 3.
2.5. Very nice. Um, I feel a little bit insulted by this. I think that you especially against Hamilton. I feel like Hamilton is just they had the bye week, which they can no doubt use, so that's in their favor. But I just don't know if they have the ponies this year. If you had asked me about this game in the preseason, yeah, I'd probably be saying Hamilton win, but I'm just not impressed, and I'm just blown away by the Alouettes. I think regardless of how far these Alouettes go, right now they're hot. Right now, and I just want to say this: this past now 2+ seasons, I think I hate that second bye. After that second bye last year, they went 2-5-1. After that, they won 2 games out of 8, including the playoff loss in Montreal to Toronto. Can we just skip that second bye this year? Can we just not have that? If we hadn't had that, we might have won the Grey Cup last year. But I fear that second bye this year. I feel like we're gonna go in, like last year, 10-1, and then the wheels are gonna come off. But we're far away from that second bye yet. So I think Montreal's going to win. I don't care who our starting quarterback is. Our defense is too good.
Yeah, I think I'm going Montreal as well, just
Mhm.
because I need to see Hamilton do something.
Yeah.
Like Hamilton and Edmonton are totally on my prove it list before I even think about picking you.
Yeah. 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 It's tough not to see the dark cloud over Edmonton and Hamilton, though early on. There's just, you can't see the hope uh, in these. But, maybe I'm just short sighted.
I mean,
You figure one of
they
these two teams will be competitive before the
they
end of the
match up in week 9, so one of them may get a win in that week.
Wow, that week 9 is going to be a crucial week, I think.
Interesting one, yeah.
Okay, now here's a pretty wild one. All right, so we have BC Lions at Saskatchewan Riders. Okay, yeah, this is the book thinks this is a test for the Riders. All right, what would you guess is the line in this game? I was somewhat surprised by this one.
5
All
Saskatchewan.
right, good. Five
Yeah,
and a half. Wow, Joe, you are on fire, dude. You should be
I'm
betting
killing
these
it.
things. No, don't listen
That's
to
the
him.
only thing I'm good at predicting you this year, so
Right.
let's keep doing this. It makes me
Are the
feel good.
point spreads, and you don't even play the point spreads.
I
So
don't.
what wasted talent, Joe? What are you doing? Okay,
Oh, I know
so
what the spreads are. I just don't know which way the game's
right,
gonna
actually,
break.
yeah. Okay, I hear you. Now, if you had told us that this was the point spread again at the beginning of the year, we'd be pretty shocked. BC
We'd be what
five and a
happened to
half point.
Nathan Rourke.
Yeah. Yeah, how about it? Now, okay. Question: do we know if Nathan Rourke is playing in this game? Do
We
we
do
know?
not.
Okay. Um, maybe that is what this line is all about. I'm tempted to be a
Oh,
wuss
I think
here
that
and just
line's gonna jack way up as soon as it's clear that he's not. That oblique injury he suffered, not contact. I'm
Mhm.
gonna guess that's a month, just based off of
Okay.
years of watching baseball and seeing guys do the same exact thing pitching. Right?
Mm,
Oh, it's an
mm,
oblique. Okay, well we'll see him next month.
mm. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
have no
So
inside information on this. It's just that's oh, I've seen that injury before. That's a month.
yeah, yeah. Well, once you look at these games for long enough, yeah, you can sort of automatically pen that in. So you're figuring that Nathan's not playing in this game. Yeah, after watching Masoli run this offense last week and just watching these riders this year, I don't know if they can make enough dumb mistakes to keep the Lions in this game. So I'll take the Riders, but I wouldn't be surprised if BC flukily covered the line, especially if it goes up to like 7.
I'm not even gonna think that way. I think this is gonna be another game like last week. I mean, the Riders have a little bit more firepower on offense. They
Yeah,
also are more likely to give back a touchdown by
yeah,
doing something silly. So
yeah. I mean, 61 points in that game last week, and it's not like the Riders have a terrible defense, but just yeah, you might see some points out of BC this game despite the quarterback. But okay, I'll take it. But in Pick'em, yeah, you have to go with the Riders here. Now this one might end up being the trickiest one of the week. Okay, Toronto Argonauts at Ottawa Red Blacks. What do you think in this game, Joe? Here's a test of your mettle.
well, it okay. I think they'll say Ottawa by 3.5 is what I'm thinking because I don't
Three
really
and a
know
half.
which way
Wow.
it's gonna break.
No, just 2.5. Just 2.5.
Okay.
Um, I'll make you go first. All right. Where do you see this one? Because this one might be the compelling game of the week. I think.
Honestly, I have no idea because I don't know which quarterbacks are going to play.
Right.
If
Okay.
Ottawa has Drew Brown, I'm
Mhm.
happily taking Ottawa because he can make that passing offense go, and
No.
Toronto hasn't shown any signs of having a cohesive defense yet.
No. No. No.
If they're
Passing
starting
defense.
If they're starting Dustin Crum again, I'm gonna go Toronto because
Wow.
I Toronto's talented enough and they have a good enough defense to keep Dustin Crum from running all over them.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is the if then game of the week, I suppose, in that
Oh,
case.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hard to imagine Toronto getting another loss, but Ottawa's 1-2, and they do
Like this is
not.
Ottawa's chance to bury
Right,
Toronto for a while, right?
right,
So if
right,
they can play or if they could play Drew Brown, they'd better.
right,
Like if he's get able to be functional, like this is your chance to stick them down there.
right.
Not
I
permanent. I mean, it's
mean,
only the first month of the season, but like get your points in, get that deficit going, so that later in the season, if they do get things together, they've got a longer hill to climb.
mhm. All things being equal, I can't help thinking that this is not exactly a must win game for Ottawa, but I feel like if they do win this game, they're looking at playoffs already, particularly if Montreal wins against Hamilton. This would really put Ottawa into an early driver's seat for, at very least, that third spot in the East, maybe the second spot.
Ottawa's just got to be semi-competent this year to make the
Yep,
playoffs because Edmonton,
yep,
Calgary, Hamilton, like really,
yep,
like
yep.
just don't screw that up and you're fine. But
Right.
like this is one of those games that you have a wounded opponent, make them play the standings game against those three, right?
Hmm.
Go get
Right.
yourself comfortable in second place if you can for a while.
Yep. Yeah.
And then
And
maybe if the Owls do the thing that they did last year, maybe you have a chance to catch them on the rebound. But
mhm,
you got to be
mhm.
you got to have Drew Brown healthy for a long
Yep.
stretch of time before you're even thinking that way.
Well, yeah, but it's early again too, right? So some of these teams are, I wouldn't say happy, but some of these teams are relieved that they have to deal with this situation early rather than late. I mean, again, like Davis Alexander is not going to play. He could. He wanted to go back in last week, but no, they're going to sit him because they can, right? I mean, Montreal's already looking towards the end of the season, I think. And so, yeah, this is the spot where Drew should come in. If they want to sit him next week, maybe at Edmonton, maybe. But yeah, I really feel like this is Ottawa's chance here.
You've got a wounded Toronto team. You have two road games against Edmonton and Hamilton coming up. I
Yep.
mean, road
Yep.
games are harder to win than home games for the most part. But like,
Hmm.
go 2-1 in that stretch, and then you have Hamilton at home after that. Like, this is your chance to get some elevation in the standings and make it
Hmm.
so you're not asking uh, if playoffs, you're asking when playoffs, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Right. Right.
Like
Right.
when
Right.
and where instead of if. Like this next month is going to be crucial in that because if you drop like two out of those four, you're being chased by those teams for the rest of the
Hmm.
season, right?
Hmm. 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 Right. Right.
Like
Right.
win three out of four of those, and
Right.
then you could take a breath, maybe.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, Toronto's going to be playing out of a hole if they lose this game for the
Oh,
rest of the
absolutely,
season.
and that's what you want to
Um,
do. You want to hurt your division opponent as much as you can
yep,
when they're wounded. Don't let them get back up.
yep, yep. Like Winnipeg did against BC. Winnipeg doesn't even
Uh huh.
play BC again this year. They don't even
Nope.
play BC again this year.
Let me
So
go grab my broom.
yeah, exactly. Nice sweep, sweep. All right, great. Well, I'm looking forward to this week 4. I guess I'm looking forward to week 9, but that's a bit far afield at this point. Let's wrap the show. Joe, you got anything else?
Nope. I think the season's starting. It's starting to become clear who the haves and have-nots are.
Ugh. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a couple of sad sacks early on, but let's see. I can't imagine that both of the teams I'm thinking of will be this bad at the end of the season. But it's still early. We have week 4 coming up. I'm going to wrap it up for the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. My name's Oz Davis. My co host has been Joe Pritchard. We are out of here. Enjoy the games, and we will talk to you next week.